Good evening. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. My name is Julie White from Pennsylvania, and I'm really excited that we can all be here tonight. We have a real special presentation tonight about brain health. And who here wants to live a long, healthy life with a healthy brain? I think we all do for sure. So I have my notebook. I hope you guys have your notebook because our guest presenter tonight is Dr. Deborah Viglione, and it's a real privilege and honor to have her on here tonight. She is one of my favorite doctors to learn from. She loves to be proactive. She's super knowledgeable, and she's also very compassionate. She just shared that her goal, her heart is that she wants to save the world. So this is going to be amazing tonight. I want to give you a little bit of her background. She is board certified in internal medicine with the American Board of Internal Medicine. She is also board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, and also integrative internal medicine practice she has in Gulf Breeze, Florida. That's why she has this beautiful tan. She's also loves the outdoors. But she has over 30 years experience in internal medicine and the last 20 years being integrative, functional, and anti-aging medicine. So this is going to be incredible tonight, and I'm just going to turn the time over to you, Dr. Deborah Viglione. We are so thrilled to have you on here tonight. Thank you so much for giving of your time because I know you're super busy. You're doing a lot of amazing things, and we just appreciate you taking time out for us tonight. So thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome. So yeah, it's kind of an auspicious task, but I do want to save the world, especially after the last 3 years. So I want to, I'm realizing, okay, I'm getting into the latter years of my career and I have a lot of experience and knowledge that I might as well share with the world and see if I can make the world a better place. So I'm going to share my screen here and get rolling. So really, if you're going to talk about any particular subject that has to do with aging, disease, wellness, you have to get the term health span is better because I don't think any of us want to live a long life in a nursing home. And I always tell people, the last thing you want to do is have a really good, healthy heart and have no brain, and you're sitting there gorked in a nursing home. So that's the goal. You don't want to get there. So you want to increase your health span, you want to control it. And there are ways to do that. You can control your health span because a lot of people feel like you can't. And certainly with just using pharmaceuticals that are putting a Band-Aid on something or treating a symptom, no, that's not going to do it. You've got to get down to the root. You've got to work with your body and the pathways in your body to do that. And a lot of the choices we make a huge difference. All right, so this is me. I guess that didn't come out too good. She already told about that. I also had to get certified with the American Board of Physicians and Surgeons because a lot of us that have been freedom doctors and speaking the truth over the last few years have had their board certifications taken away. So I was proactive and signed up with a different board. So the three areas that you want to do as you're aging to control and increase your health span is you want the cognition. Remember, the brain runs the body. So that is the most important thing to target. But you also want to maintain your motion. You don't want to end up with a cane or a nursing in a wheelchair in a nursing home. And you need to maintain your youthful appearance. And that's just basically, I think we all want to do that. We want to look as young as we feel. So what happens as you get older, this is just normal part of aging, your cognitive processing declines, the speed of which you're able to, recall things. Like one of the biggest complaints I hear, and it happens to me, is that word recall. You're trying to think of somebody's name or think of this word, and it just doesn't come. Some of that is what they call blocking. Your brain's at basically a computer, and the more information that feeds into the computer, the bigger hard drive you need, the bigger RAM you need. And so some of it's blocking because you probably know, like, you try to think of one word and another word comes up and kind of blocks that one, and that's blocking. And they say that happens at any age, but it's going to happen the more storage that you have in your brain. And so if you typically get away from it, don't think about it for a while, the right word will pop in. So that's something that we can probably improve some with supplements, but that's not as worrisome as true short-term memory loss where you're not recording the present. So breathing kind of backs down your concentration. I see so many people now with adult ADD, or even if it's not ADD, they can't maintain the concentration level that they need at their job. And so they're needing stimulants like Adderall to be able to perform at the same level that they were. Also, decision-making can be tough, and learning new things. I mean, they always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I believe we can learn, but it is tougher. Like one of the things I just took up was violin. And I'm finding it a bit harder than picking up instruments was in the past, but those are the kind of things you've got to do to continue to stimulate your brain to learn new things. So what exactly is aging? It's a good deal of just wear and tear on the body. I saw somebody today who her back is just disintegrated and she's had to have all these surgeries. That's wear and tear. We get that, you know, if you've had a job where you're lifting a lot of heavy material. In her case, it's hereditary. You know, she didn't do anything, but her back deteriorated. But when you're looking at this, you've got to look at what's the underlying process. What is the root cause? Because if you don't treat that, it's not going to get better. You know, like if you have mold in your house and you use bleach or something on it, if it's underneath and you haven't gotten that water leak gone, it's going to keep coming back. So if you don't treat the oxidative stress, you're not going to get results, or not long-term results. So we're going to go in a lot of detail on oxidative stress because it won't make sense what I'm talking to you about tonight if you don't understand what's actually happening. And so oxidative stress is the major cause of wear and tear and aging in our body, and that causes inflammation, further damage. And so there's over 200 diseases, and I would wager to say almost every disease has its roots in oxidative stress, except for maybe some of the inherited diseases that children are born with. So I just put this out there because, you know, this is not where we want to be, but doing things like playing with puzzles, that's a really good way to stimulate your brain. And I know we've all had this where you go and you walk into a room and you can't remember why you went there in the first place. Some of that is lack of, I think, concentration and being in the present. One of the terms you probably hear a lot of people talking about is, the yoga term, mindfulness. You know, mindfulness. Well, what they're meaning is being in the present, registering the present. Because I think a lot of the short-term issues we have is that we're not thinking about what we're doing. We're not actually recording that memory. And as far as meeting new people, you know, and getting their name, I've met so many people. We moved around my whole life. I've had different practices. A lot of times people tell me their name and I don't register it, you know, and then of course I can't recall it because I never recorded it. So you have to really think about it, associate it with something, you know, be purposeful, try to be in the present, and that way you're going to remember things more. I was always kind of one step ahead, you know, what's next in my career, what's going on? And I realized I don't have a lot of really good memories of the past because I didn't record them. So I like this because this is me, the stress. So it's all kinds of things that cause it. So this is the theory of aging and disease, that you are just accumulating a little bit at a time, microscopic damage to your cells, cell membranes. And your cell membrane is actually the most important part of the cell because it controls what comes in and out and the electrical charge of the cell. Then your DNA gets damaged with oxidative stress, and that can lead to cancer, your tissues, your enzyme system. So we lose that and we're predisposed to disease. Oh, I went back the wrong way. So really what that is an imbalance between the processes in our body that counters oxidative stress, which are called our antioxidant defense mechanisms, and the free radical production. And so you can see the scales are weighted. So what we have to do is we have to get to a balance between those systems. And what you see on the surface is not necessarily what's going on. There's a lot more going on than what you see. You know, you may see a wrinkle show up on your face, but it could be that you have coronary artery disease, you know, all kinds of things going on, arthritis. So it's just the tip of the iceberg, what you see on the surface. So people don't always understand what a free radical is, because the free radicals are accumulating, and that's what they mean by oxidative stress, is an abundance of free radicals. And what it is a cell that is missing an electron, and so it's a very unstable cell, and it's not happy, so it's looking for electrons, and it damages the cell if there's a free radical. So an antioxidant is basically donating an electron to that unstable free radical to neutralize it. So the free radicals are stealing electrons, so they're damaging the cells that they steal the electrons from. And then damaged cells send out a lot of signals through the body. Hey, I'm damaged, come help repair me. Well, that's inflammation. If you break a bone, your body sends inflammation in there to heal that bone. And that's what we want. But when it's a chronic issue from increased free radicals, it becomes chronic inflammation, which then causes more damage. So you get this snowball effect. And that's what you see here, eventually the snowball splats. And you want to correct this process before you develop a disease. And so people think of free radicals, maybe like ozone or hydrogen peroxide or things that are outside the body, but oxygen is needed. Obviously, we can't function without oxygen, but 2 to 3% of the oxygen that we consume is converted to free radicals, and you make about 9 pounds a year. That doesn't count all the things in the environment that are trying to destroy us. So I like this thing because it kind of gives you an idea of all the different types of things that can cause free radical formation. Like we were talking before we started here about ultraviolet light and how I love to get a tan, but there's a balance between getting this beautiful tan that's protecting me and actually damaging the cells in my skin and making me age or get skin cancer. Ionizing radiation, that would be what we get from x-rays, air pollution, ozone, okay? Ozone's already made to be the bad guy. Ozone can be very good. There's a reason for it, but if there's high ozone concentrations in the environment, it's because it's trying to clean up air pollution. And ozone itself is very damaging, irritating to the cells that are in our lungs. Over here, this little bean-shaped thing, the pink thing, that's a mitochondria. We're going to be talking about that because mitochondria actually, in the process of doing business, create free radicals, and they're also very susceptible to damage by free radicals. All right, so this is a good slide of exactly what it means. An apple that's been exposed to the air or oxygen gets brown. Same with an avocado. And that's what oxidative stress looks like. Same thing is going on inside your cells, or you can use the analogy of rusting. You're rusting from the inside out because rust is oxidation. So when you get this chronic inflammation, it's causing cellular dysfunction, ultimately death of the cell. It can lead to abnormal cell growth or cancer, aging, and it can lead to diseases. So what's the solution? You've got to reduce it. You have to reduce your toxic burden. That includes taking in toxins, but also eliminating them because we all have a ton of toxins. You've got to improve your mitochondria health, but also their numbers because they decline with age. And you want to activate something we call the Sirtuin genes. These are longevity genes, and they help guard our DNA. So they're very important to longevity and staying disease-free. And then we have to get into gut health because that's our second brain. Some people even call it our first brain. So lifestyle changes, and I'm not going to get into this a lot because that would be like a whole separate lecture, but just common sense. You've got to improve your sleep quality because that's when we do our repair and when we can synthesize neurotransmitters and relax our body and allow it to heal. And you want to get at least 8 hours, 7 at the minimum, but there are so many studies out there that the person that only sleeps 3 to 5 hours a night, they die early. They do not have the same longevity. Exercise is important, not too much exercise, but definitely moderate exercise. When I say too much, I'm talking about the ultra marathoner, the ultra triathlete, not taking any days of rest. That does produce a tremendous amount of wear and tear on the body over time. And sorry, people, but the sugar's got to go. Processed food and sugars, and just in my lifetime, the cereal industry exploded. And that is a lot of people's staple, but it's full of sugar and gluten and grains that are harmful to us. And it's just got to go. Studies are really bad when it comes to gluten and sugar. And you want to eat the rainbow. You want to diversify the types of food. And what I mean by that is colorful foods. You want to have the greens, the purples. Purples are really important. They're not as abundant in our environment, but blueberries are excellent. Eggplants, things like that, because they have nutritional value that the other foods don't have. But eating your reds and your oranges, because all of those foods tend to make different microbiome and make your gut healthier. And then as much as possible, eat organic or locally grown, because the pesticides are horrible. Okay, so what we're going to get in tonight is the distinction between supplementation and activation. And I have been a proponent of activation ever since I found out about it, which was about 2015. It has completely changed the way I practice and what I've done for my body and what I do for my patients. It's so foundational. It's like supersizing everything you do. I used to send people out on 40 or more supplements trying to correct the various things going on in their body. But when you activate pathways in the body, the God-given pathways in there for your body to heal, repair, and eliminate toxins, you can do this much simpler and faster and get better results. So we're going to talk about turning on these biological pathways in your body. So this is the first one we're going to talk about is Nrf2, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. It's a nuclear transcription factor. But this is basically, without this pathway, we'd be dead, because it's the one that keeps us alive. It activates our survival genes. And Washington State University a few years ago did this quote that Nrf2 activation is probably the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventive breakthrough in the history of medicine. And I have to agree, it's been unbelievable what it's done in my practice. So when you activate that pathway, you're producing enzymes that are neutralizing free radicals. So you're reducing oxidative stress and you're detoxifying. That is your primary way the body detoxifies, and it does plastics. And bad, it's supposed to be a little bit better, but it's just so convenient. So plastics, heavy metals, pesticides, estrogens are some of these, they're usually in the pesticides, but it's what's making frogs turn into half female, half male. They're really bad and they're very carcinogenic. But when you activate this pathway, it's how the body eliminates them. It activates over 500 other cytoprotective genes in the body once you turn this on. And it works with another pathway we'll talk a little bit about is the Nrf1 pathway. That one is the primary pathway that makes mitochondria, and those two pathways work intimately together. So when you turn on Nrf2, and this is a big buzzword now, you're turning on autophagy. And that is the way a cell removes its waste. It removes organelles, which organelles are like our organs on our body. So they're organs inside the cell. And what it does, those organs sometimes get old and dysfunctional. Well, autophagy is the way the cell gets rid of them and then recycles the ingredients in there to make new ones. So super, super important. And that was one of the things that the spike protein did in our body. It stopped the process of autophagy. And what happens if that process is stopped, the cell becomes what they call senescent or a zombie cell. And those cells are like warriors, and the body won't kill them because they're sending out signals, don't kill me, I'm a warrior. But they cause a tremendous amount of inflammation, and they can actually promote the incidence of cancer starting. So they're bad guys. You want to get rid of these zombie cells. So Nrf2 activation also modulates your immune system, brings it back into balance, and helps it be stronger. And in the process of doing all this, it's very, very anti-inflammatory. So this is, the number one pathway you want to turn on to live longer and healthier. So what I'm going to talk about tonight, and there's a reason that I'm not mentioning actually product names, One of it is for compliance reason and FTC reasons. They really don't like us talking about products in the natural realm unless we're talking about a pharmaceutical. So we're going to call the one that I am speaking about an herbal Nrf2 activator. And you can get back with the person that invited you to the Zoom, or you can email me at the end. I'll give you a contact if you would like more information. But this particular product has so many peer-reviewed university studies on various different aspects about what it does, but it's absolutely been proven to work. And I didn't realize this was going to be an overlay, but it reduces your oxidative stress on average by 40% in just 1 month of taking it. And by 4 months, you're usually up to about 70% reduction. So you're getting back to where you were as a child. And it produces the enzymes that gobble up or neutralize free radicals. One of them is called superoxide dismutase, another one's called catalase. Catalase actually neutralizes the free radical hydrogen peroxide. And glutathione, if you don't know about glutathione, read up on it, but it is the biggest detoxifier and antioxidant, and it's made in all of our cells. You really, really need that. And when the body is stressed and getting older, you don't make that as well. But this will make your body make it, as opposed to taking a supplement. And the supplements tend to not be absorbed that well, and they don't last very long. So you really want your body to do it. Okay, let's see. Oh, and it neutralizes. Okay, so if you say, vitamin C, we all know about that as an antioxidant. Well, one vitamin C neutralizes one free radical. When you turn this Nrf2 pathway on, you're neutralizing 1 million every second in all your cells. So you can't even get close to it with dietary or even, taking vitamin C. So with that being said, well, does it work on the brain? Absolutely it does. So I'm just going to cite one study. There's several more out on PubMed, but the oligodendrocytes are cells that are in the brain, and they're also in your peripheral nervous system too, but they produce myelin. Myelin is a protective sheath on your neurons that allows the electricity to pass faster. I'll show you a diagram in a minute. Neurons carry the electrical signals in the brain, but when it's damaged, the electrical signals don't go very well, and it leads to the death of your nerve cells. And the free radicals and oxidative stress are responsible for damaging this and killing off the oligodendrocytes, and then you can't make myelin. So this is what it looks like. This is a nerve cell, the one over here to the left with, I don't know if you can see my thing, and then over here, the oligodendrocyte is this red thing, and you can see the little myelin sheaths that it's making, and then you can see the damaged one. Well, one of the diseases that you guys are probably familiar with is multiple sclerosis, and where it's attacking is the myelin sheath along these nerves, so the electrical impulse can't travel down the nerve when the stuff is destroyed. So what they did in the study is they took 3 products, methyl fumarate, sulforaphane, which actually comes from broccoli, and the herbal Nrf2 synergizer, and they bathed the oligodendrocytes in that to see if it would protect them from oxidative stress. So what they did after they bathed them or exposed them, then they exposed them to a free radical or oxidative stress. So they used hydrogen peroxide and glucose oxidase. And the results and conclusions is the herbal Nrf2 synergizer outperformed the other two. They were looking at different levels of enzyme productions, the good guys. Outperformed them on making the good guys, but it was the only one that protected the oligodendrocytes and actually made new ones, new healthy ones. So it was groundbreaking, earth-shattering, along with the several other studies. So I invite you to go to PubMed, to Google Scholar, and talk to the person that sent you there, and they'll tell you the word to look up so that you can see these studies, because it's absolutely amazing. I prefer Google Scholar a little bit more than PubMed now, because Google Scholar is not censoring things. PubMed is keeping things off of there that they don't like. But so now we're going to shift to the mitochondria, because that's super important. The mitochondria are where we make our energy. And the brain and the heart and the liver are like the number one places or organs in the body that have the most mitochondria. And so basically there are hundreds to thousands of mitochondria per nerve cell that you saw. And the mitochondria are extra susceptible to oxidative stress. So mitochondrial biogenesis is just the name for making more mitochondria. And you can see up here at the little picture I have, the yellow one is a healthy one, the other one is a dysfunctional mitochondria. So the main pathway that makes this is, we call it the Nrf1 pathway. And those two pathways work together. One, the Nrf2 is helping to protect the mitochondria from oxidative stress, but the Nrf1 and Nrf2 pathway work together to create more mitochondria. And so what we like to do is the herbal blend where you have both of these because you're activating both pathways. And so that equals more mitochondria, healthy mitochondria. One of the biggest symptoms of aging is you're tired. You know, you don't have the energy. Kids run around all the time. I mean, we don't have the energy to even get through the day. You know, thus you're drinking caffeine, energy drinks, taking Adderall, anything you can to get through the day. You don't want to do that. So the last one is Sirtuin genes. And I'm showing this just because it's a complicated pathway. And you can see that it's involved in mitochondrial biogenesis. It's involved in insulin sensitivity. One of the problems with aging is weight gain. How many? Unwanted weight gain. And then ultimately diabetes, you know, or pre-diabetes. So you want to prevent that. And it makes you more resistant to oxidative stress if these pathways are operating. It helps you get rid of old damaged cells. And it helps with balance the insulin secretion in the body. So it's pretty amazing. And this is the pathway that you're trying to activate with fasting and intermittent fasting. That's why it's gotten so popular. And one of the things you can look at is activating AMPK. In fact, there's actually supplements out there. There's supposedly AMPK activators. I bought some at there, you know, when they started making them, and I didn't see a difference. But the reason probably didn't is that NAD plus is the crux of running this pathway. So when you're fasting, you're trying to increase more NAD plus. Okay, so why are these genes important? They are our longevity genes. They are known as a cellular guardian. They help us protect our DNA. They also help us with this gene called P53, which helps us prevent cancer or abnormal cell growth. And if you increase the activity of these genes, it leads to longer life and multiple studies. And it helps reduce age-related loss in function. There are actually organizations out there that people join for calorie restriction because we know that calorie restriction is associated with longer, healthier life, but it's not fun. You know, these people are skinny, they look weird, and, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't have energy if I don't eat enough. So what this is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and it's found in every living cell, and it's necessary to make energy, but it's necessary. I mean, without NAD, you would die within seconds. You have to have this. And it actually runs the whole mitochondria, what we call the electron transport chain. So without it, the mitochondria can't even function. But to activate the Sirtuin genes, you have to have NAD. And that is a big, big thing now because they think that some of the people that died of the SARS virus ran out of NAD. You know, they just couldn't make any more energy. And a lot of the treatments now for people with chronic COVID or post-COVID syndrome is getting the NAD up. In fact, I can do IVs of NAD in my office, but they're super pricey and they don't last real long because the body uses it up and then you're back again. So what happens is you have great Sirtuin activity, but starts to go down as you get older. That's 40% in age 50, but by the time you get 90 or 80 years old, you've lost 98% of it. That's why old people just sit around and sleep. You know, you can get them up to eat and then they turn around and go to sleep, and that's not what we want to do. So again, we're going to flip the switch on this pathway and we're going to make more NAD+. So this particular product we're going to talk about, 2 capsules increase Sirtuin-1 activity 100% in just 24 hours. You can't do that. I mean, you know, if I do a drip, yeah, you're probably going to have it. But if you take this every day, you're increasing your production of NAD+. 72-hour water fast it takes to get it up about 96%. So who wants to do a 72-hour water fast? And you can't do that day in, day out. So this is the only product that's clinically proven to do it to this degree that's out there. Okay, so I'd be remiss if I didn't get into the gut. Now that, to me, those are foundational. Now, if you have memory problems, you have other issues, you may have to add additional supplements. But if you don't start with the ground and treating the underlying cause, those supplements are not going to help very much. So that's why I thought we need to get into the basics and the foundational treatment, and then anything else you do can be much more effective. But without treating the gut, you're not going to get anywhere, because that's our second gut. So that's a picture of the whole gut there. Your salivary glands actually begin the whole process. How you digest your food, the enzymes that they put out affect how well you digest your food and absorb nutrients. And I am probably the worst. I'll chew twice and swallow. No, not good. Okay, sorry, these slides, I couldn't alter them. I pulled a lot of these from other lectures. But your gut is producing 80 to 90% of the neurotransmitters that the brain uses. Serotonin, I call it the feel-good neurotransmitter. It affects your mood, your appetite, digestion, your sleep, your memory, your sexual desire. It's huge. That's why there's so many drugs out there, SSRIs, that help you increase your serotonin level. But 90% of this is made in the gut. And if you don't make it, you're going to end up having to take something that helps give it to you. Dopamine is kind of your motivation neurotransmitter. It affects your movement, pleasure, attention. So most of these drugs for attention deficit are focused on dopamine. Norepinephrine is the one that gives you a lot of energy, arousal. It controls your heart rate, how well you metabolize your food that you're eating. Epinephrine is a close cousin to that. But so we really, really need to focus on the gut and get it healthier. So, most people understand somewhat what a probiotic does, but it helps you digest your food, obviously. It improves your metabolism, and the type of bacteria in your probiotic can affect your metabolism. There are some that are more geared for weight loss, and there's some that help you not have excess sugar. So you really, again, eating a variety of foods helps diversify your microbiome, helps your absorption, and actually your immune system. Most of it is in the lining of like your nose or your respiratory tract or the lining of your gut. And there's these things called Peyer's patches in your gut that really start the process with your immune system. Now the mood, they said gut-brain axis, but that means all those neurotransmitters we just talked about. And having the probiotic in there will help your lining, which I'll show you in a minute, which reduces your incidence of allergies. So this is a schematic here of the cells on your gut lining. And the crazy thing is they're only one cell layer thick. So it's very easy to disrupt it with chemicals, bad things that you're eating. And you can see the left here, it's completely healthy. These things called tight junctions between the cells are intact. If that's open, like you see on the other side, all these bad things, toxins, bad bacteria, molds, Lyme disease, all these horrible things are getting into your immune system, and people start developing allergies to food because these undigested food particles are getting into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream says, what is this? So then they make antibodies to it. So the first thing you've got to do is make that intact, and a probiotic helps. Well, a good garden needs sunlight, water, and fertilizer. Well, you need to feed your good bacteria so that they stay there and replicate. So that's really, really important, and that gets left out a lot with the prebiotic. And I'll tell you a little caveat. Bacteria in your gut, part of their process of doing business, they create waste, which is gas. And so sometimes pretty much anytime you start a prebiotic, you're gonna feed these guys, so you're gonna make more gas, and you may have some bloating. So it's something that you have to go in slowly till your body adapts to it, so you don't just suddenly blow up. And then the prebiotic will help you feel less hungry. I call it the pancake effect. You eat pancakes and then suddenly you're like, oh, so bloated. because they kind of expand in the stomach. And so it's a great way to lose weight. Do a prebiotic before your biggest meal and you won't eat as much. And it's going to support your healthy digestion. It will help you be more regular with your bowel movements and keeps your blood sugar more balanced. So if you have a happy gut, you have a happy you. And I threw this stuff in is for inspiration. Ernestine Shepherd, that picture was when she was 86. She's 87 now. She started bodybuilding actually at a later date. And this is Joanna. I think I left that off. I forget what her last name is. That she is a gymnast, and that was when she's 87. She's now 97. She's still alive. I don't know if she's performing. I couldn't actually find any pictures, but you can go Google her and watch her perform. It's just so inspiring. So it shows that you don't, you know, she may have white hair and whatever, but her skin looks pretty taut. You can fight this, but you have to do the right things. So that's me. And this email is not quite going yet, but it will be contact@deborahviglione.com. So that's where I'm going to funnel all these kind of questions to, because my other email is getting too full. And then, you know, you can also call my office. But I urge you to get back with whoever invited you to this video, you know, to ask them questions, and they can guide you as to how you can get a hold of these products. But thank you for attending tonight. And, you know, we may do a follow-on later on some of the add-ons that you can do, but this was, I figured, the basics and fundamental to getting started on and increasing your health span. So thank you for coming.